the sleepy story of AI assistants. From Clippy to Chat.com, detailed bedtime narrative. Intro. Settle in. Let your breath fall into a calm, unhurried rhythm. Tonight, you are easing into a soft and measured journey through the story of digital helpers, the quirky little assistants who started as bouncing cartoons inside our screens and eventually grew into the complex conversational partners guiding our work, our searches, our schedules, and sometimes our quiet late-night thinking. This is a gentle story about the evolution of AI assistants. It begins in the glowing CRT era, wanders through the rise of search engines and voice interfaces, and eventually reaches the calm hum of modern neural networks. Allow this slow drift through time to ease your mind. Nothing here demands effort. Just listen, relax, and float across a history shaped by curiosity, frustration, innovation, and the persistent human desire to create tools that feel just a little bit alive. Part I. Before assistants had faces. Before Clippy, before Siri, before neural networks developed fluency, before AI became a common headline. There was a quieter era of computing, an age of text interfaces, monochrome displays, and systems that responded only to exact syntax. You had to know the right commands. You had to type with precision. Computers waited, blinking, for your next keystroke, but offered no hints about what you should do next. In the 1970s and 1980s, most software demanded expertise. Programmers knew how to navigate command lines, but the average person needed manuals, diagrams, and sometimes in-person training. The idea of a friendly assistant living inside the computer, something approachable, conversational, even helpful, was still wishful thinking. Yet early experiments hinted at what might come. In 1966, Joseph Weizenbaum created ELIZA, a program that mimicked a Rogerian psychotherapist. ELIZA did not understand, but it responded. It took user input and turned it into reflective questions, giving a surprising illusion of dialogue. People who interacted with it sometimes forgot it was code. This was the first time a computer felt like it was listening. But ELIZA was a lone spark. For decades afterward, most programs remained opaque and serious. The notion that a computer could be friendly was still far from common thinking. Throughout the 1980s and early 1990s, graphical interfaces began to emerge. Microsoft Windows, Apple's Macintosh, and similar systems replaced terminal commands with icons and menus. Still, users often felt lost inside software with growing features. Help menus existed, but they sat buried in toolbars or under F1 keys, rarely accessed and difficult to navigate. Developers wondered, what if help could come to the user instead of forcing the user to search for it? What if assistance could be embodied? What if it could feel alive? Those questions led to the era of the animated assistant, the first attempt to make software seem personable. Part II, Clippy and the era of animated helpers. The late 1990s brought a burst of optimism about humanizing computers. Microsoft was preparing Office 97, a suite with more features than ever. Developers predicted users would need guidance. The company had been experimenting with an interface concept called agents, small, animated characters who could observe user behavior and offer tips. At the center of this experiment emerged one of the most famous icons in computing, Clippy, the paperclip with expressive eyebrows and boundless enthusiasm. Clippy was designed as a helper who would pop up when you seemed stuck, offering to assist with tasks like writing letters or formatting documents. He lived inside a framework called Microsoft Agent and was powered by an early inference engine that tried to guess user intent. He could wiggle, he could blink, he could raise his brows in concern, and he became unforgettable. But Clippy entered a world not yet ready for constant help. People found him intrusive. He appeared too frequently. He assumed too much. His cheerfulness often arrived at the wrong moment. Feedback surveys showed users felt interrupted rather than supported. Over time, Clippy became a cultural touchpoint, a symbol of well-meaning but overbearing software design. Still, he mattered. Clippy was the first widespread attempt to embed personality into a digital assistant. He sparked conversations about user experience, timing, personalization, and how humans emotionally react to computer interfaces. He represented a bold experiment, the idea that software could be a companion. If Clippy was overeager, it was because he was built on early assumptions, systems that guessed intent based on keywords and templates, not deep understanding. His failures taught the industry valuable lessons. And yet, even as Clippy became the butt of jokes, developers continued searching for a better kind of digital helper. Part 3: The Quiet Shift. Search engines, toolbars, and predictive logic. While Clippy captured public attention, other forms of assistance were evolving quietly. Search engines transformed from directories to intelligent indexes. Google's PageRank algorithm made answers easier to find. Tooltips and context menus improved usability. Spell checkers and grammar correctors became smoother and less intrusive. These were not assistants in the animated sense, but they empowered users without theatrics. The industry realized that the best help often feels invisible. Users appreciated software that anticipated needs without demanding attention. During the 2000s, predictive features became more refined. Browsers learned autofill. Email clients learned spam patterns. Keyboards learned user typing habits. Search bars learned to autocomplete queries. This decade became the silent incubation period between Clippy-style characters and the conversational AI boom that came next. As smartphones emerged and online life intensified, new opportunities for digital assistants appeared. People needed help managing schedules, setting alarms, finding information, and navigating apps. The industry sensed that the next wave of assistance would require voice, context, and understanding. Voice recognition had improved. Cloud computing had matured. Machine learning algorithms could now learn from huge datasets. The stage was set for assistance with presence, but less cartoonish interruption. The world was ready for something new. Part 4: Siri, Alexa, Google Assistant. Voice companions enter the home. In 2011, Apple launched Siri, the first mainstream voice assistant embedded in a smartphone. Siri had a personality, calm, slightly playful, and it could answer questions in natural language. The fact that you could talk to your phone without rigid commands felt revolutionary. Users suddenly had a hands-free way to ask about weather, set reminders, or find directions. Siri's personality was shaped deliberately, friendly, slightly witty, and approachable. A year later, Google launched Google Now, the precursor to Google Assistant. While Siri leaned on charm, Google focused on proactive intelligence. It provided cards containing predicted information, commute times, weather, event reminders, travel alerts. It was less conversational, but more anticipatory. Then Amazon changed everything in 2014 with Alexa and the Echo speaker. For the first time, a digital assistant lived in a physical object you could place in a room. This made assistance ambient. You could walk through your kitchen, ask Alexa for a timer, add an item to your shopping list, or request music, and the device would respond instantly. Suddenly, the assistant felt like part of the home, not hidden behind a screen, not popping up on a monitor, but waiting calmly, listening for a wake word. These assistants had personalities, but they were restrained. They didn't blink or wiggle like Clippy. They didn't interrupt uninvited. They waited. And they grew more capable as natural language processing advanced. people started relying on them. Turning on lights, managing calendars, controlling smart appliances, checking news, playing music, translating languages. The world was leaning into conversational technology, but all of this was still pre-neural network fluency. Behind the scenes, a deeper transformation was brewing. Part V, the neural network revolution. Around 2017, large-scale neural networks began reshaping AI. Models like the transformer architecture allowed systems to process language in parallel, understand context more deeply, and learn patterns across massive datasets. This new foundation led to breakthroughs in translation, summarization, speech recognition, and writing. By 2018, companies were training enormous language models, systems capable of generating coherent paragraphs, answering open-ended questions, and adapting to user intent. These models could reason about connections between words and ideas in a way that felt increasingly natural. Voice assistants benefited from these advancements, but something new was emerging. Assistants that could operate primarily through text conversation with depth, continuity, and memory. This was the path that led to ChatGPT. Part VI, the arrival of ChatGPT and the age of digital companions. In November 2022, OpenAI launched ChatGPT, a conversational interface powered by the GPT 3.5 architecture. Unlike earlier assistants, ChatGPT was not limited to short commands or predefined responses. It could engage in free-flowing dialogue, generate long passages of text, provide detailed explanations, and adapt to the user's tone. And crucially, it felt present. ChatGPT didn't need a cartoon face or a physical device. Its personality emerged from its language, calm, helpful, and infinitely patient. Where Clippy had to guess what you needed, ChatGPT could simply ask. Where Siri and Alexa had fixed, predetermined answers, ChatGPT could reason through new situations on the fly. People used it for brainstorming, research assistance, planning, creative writing, coding, emotional support, translation, tutoring. It became a conversational partner rather than a utility. By the time more advanced versions appeared, GPT-4, GPT-5, and subsequent multimodal systems, the role of AI assistants had fundamentally changed. They no longer appeared as mascots in the corner of a screen. They existed as adaptable, responsive presences shaped by language, personalization, and context. They could see images, analyze documents, generate explanations, and offer guidance across countless tasks. The assistant became less of a character and more of a companion technology. The story had come full circle, from early ambitions of friendly helpers to genuinely capable partners who could communicate naturally. Part VII, what we learned along the way. The journey from Clippy to ChatGPT reveals several patterns in how humans design digital help. First, personality matters, but not in the way we once thought. Animated characters were charming, but they distracted from the user's goals. Modern assistants show personality through tone and responsiveness, not animation. Second, good assistance is contextual. Clippy interrupted. Modern AIs wait for the user. Voice assistants listen only when invoked. ChatGPT responds only when prompted. Third, adaptability is essential. Older assistants followed scripts. Modern systems interpret and reason. This difference reshapes user expectations. Fourth, the boundary between tool and companion has softened. People now speak to assistants the way they speak to colleagues, tutors, or friends. The emotional component, once considered frivolous, is now part of the experience. What began as novelty has become part of daily life. Part Roman 8, the future, calm computing and ambient intelligence. Looking forward, the trajectory suggests a future where AI assistants become more ambient and less obtrusive. They may integrate across devices, helping without demanding attention. They may understand personal preferences, workflows, and routines with greater subtlety. They may transition between voice, text, vision, and other modalities smoothly. The assistant of the future might not need a distinct identity. Instead, it may simply be an invisible layer that supports thinking, searching, and creating, a quiet presence similar to electricity or Wi-Fi. And yet, traces of Clippy's ambition remain, the hope that computers might feel personable and approachable. Today's assistants do not blink or wiggle, but they carry a softness, a helpfulness that echoes the original desire behind those early designs. AI assistants are still evolving. They are tools but also companions, practical but also comforting in their consistency. The story continues. Outro. As you come to rest at the end of this calm journey, let the evolution of these digital helpers settle gently in your thoughts. From the quirky animations of the late 1990s, to the voices that emerged from our smartphones and living rooms, to the conversational intelligence of modern neural networks, this quiet progress reveals the human desire for comfort, support, and clarity in an increasingly complex world. We have always wanted help. We have always wanted systems that feel a little more human, a little more patient, a little more understanding. Now, as you drift into sleep or deeper relaxation, let your mind loosen its grip on the day. Let the story fade into quiet. The glow of your screen softens, the noise of the world dims, and the history of AI assistance settles like dust on a bookshelf, still there, still present, still evolving, but asking nothing more of you tonight. Rest, settle, restore. The story will be here when you return.